Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Welcome to episode 7 of the Marketing Operators Podcast. As always, want to thank our sponsors, Motion, Richpanel, Haus, and Aftersell. Today, we are talking about all things product drops and all the strategies and thinking that goes into that. We are talking product drop philosophy. We are talking about the research that goes into informing new products. We're talking about all the listeners' favorite tactical things to make that Shopify store light up with the new products. And we are talking about project management to make it all happen smoothly. We are also introducing a brand new segment called Test of the Week, where we will be reviewing an interesting test that we have recently ran and some interesting insights that we've gotten from that test. Tune in. Hope you enjoy.
So I heard a great metaphor this week talking to my team about our premier sponsor, Motion. We were talking about getting better at performance creative, and someone said it's a lot like playing basketball. If you want to be a professional basketball player, you can't just shoot free throws. You got to train, you got to practice, you got to eat well. And Motion is the equivalent of watching game film. If you're a basketball player, you're watching the plays back, you're learning, you're planning for the future. That's what Motion allows you to do. It's analytical rigor for your performance creative teams. So if you want to add that level of knowledge to your teams, the same as Ridge, Hexclad, Jones Road, Viore, you can go to motionapp.com and get your first month free if you mention Marketing Operators to the podcast. And Cody's got some more special details.
Yeah, one thing I love about Motion, in addition to making great software that can unify marketing and creative teams, they also put out a lot of amazing information, a lot of helpful resources, and they actually have something great going on. The Make Ads That Convert 2024 is coming up soon. It's a 2024 Supergroup Edition. There are going to be 4 performance marketing megastars in one place for the first time. The undisputed ad experts together on one stage. You're going to have Myrella Crespi, the performance ad mastermind, Dara Denny, the ultimate creative strategist, Jess Bachman, the creativity machine, and Savannah Sanchez, the TikTok and Meta creative force, all in one place. Weekly live sessions for free. It's a must-attend event that I'm going to have my whole team at. The best part, it's a free event with live sessions every Thursday starting May 23rd and going to June 20th. I'll be there. My team was there. I hear the Ridge team has moved around their whole schedule to be there. Can't miss event of the season.
It's like watching game film from the 2008 Miami Heat or something. It's gonna be a great show. We're moving meetings around so more of the Ridge team can join. So we hope to see you guys there.
Sweet. All right. Episode 7. Crazy. First 6 episodes flew by. Today, we're talking about all things new products. So philosophies on why you launch new products, tactics to launch new products, and talking about channel mix, different approaches to new product drops. But before we do that, we wanted to start this new segment on the Marketing Operators and call it Test of the Week, where we review a test that we ran recently that delivered some sort of insightful results. So I was going to kick this one off with a house test that we ran. It was actually our first house test. We did a 3-cell Facebook budget test. Cell A, no spend. Cell B, business as usual. Cell C, 25% scaled budget. Really with the ultimate goal of eventually getting budget tests ran between a lot of our core digital channels and just figuring out where is that next dollar best spent. So we definitely found some interesting things in terms of the cost per incremental orders between cell B and cell C compared to the holdout group. But there's nothing super actionable yet until we can actually compare that across channels or in channel have a campaign level or objective type cost per incremental insight. But what was super interesting is what we saw between our incremental.com orders and our incremental Amazon orders. I think, Cody, I think you've been using Haus the longest. If I remember correctly, this Amazon integration's a newer feature of theirs. Is that correct? Do you know how? I mean, it's been there the entire time we've been using it, but we've only been using it for about a month and a half, 2 months. Is that a newer feature?
I actually couldn't tell you because we're not on Amazon, but that's pretty cool that you can measure that. That's actually awesome.
Yeah. So
I've got the background on the feature is it had been, you could connect to your data warehouse. So it was one way to feed it in. We were manually feeding it in. And then they just rolled out, I think 2 weeks ago, a native Amazon integration that makes it way smoother.
Yeah. So it's really insightful. And we've always had this hunch that we see like a lot of DTC brands that are on both channels, right? There's this idea, this hunch that's somewhat hard to quantify, that what we're doing on our .com funnels are spilling over to Amazon in a major way. And we've done a few tests that have kind of validated this. We did a period over period test where we just cut Amazon budget by like 40% and we only saw revenue drop about 5%, suggesting that, a lot of the demand's not being generated within Amazon. We did another, we use a tool called Prescient, and that gives you estimated Amazon halo effect. So on a campaign level in Google, in Facebook, whatever, it'll say, here's how much our model is saying how much revenue this drove. And of that revenue, here's what percent we're estimating went through Amazon. But this geo holdout test was like truly the first controlled, scientifically set up test. And we found a 1-to-1 ratio between incremental .com orders and incremental Amazon orders. So that was really interesting to see. And like, we're, not a small amount of budget either happening between these, the no spend sell and the business as usual spend. And, it's really given us
That's
kind
wild.
of like,
that is a wild
it's crazy.
stat.
Yeah. We were not expecting it to be 1-to-1. We knew it was going to be like a big number, but like, for every one order that we're driving on .com with our Facebook funnels, we're driving one on Amazon, according to this test. I don't want to make that full on conclusion right away, but pretty insightful to understand like what that relationship is. And I think we're going to, continue to monitor that for all these budget tests that we do.
I have a few questions for you. First of all, I agree with you. At least my journey has been like, I think it's as you do more house tests and more geo tests on different platforms, then you get a little bit more context on like what's a good cost per incremental. It took me so much time to really understand that because I'm so ingrained with a CPA. So I think you'll get that. You probably were accounting for some halo before, but are you expecting this to change your targets that you run Facebook at? And then also why Facebook as first channel? Just super curious on what was like the hypothesis that led to that being your first test.
We just spend the most on Facebook, so we thought it made the most sense to start there. And what we found out actually was that there was a lot of weird things happening on our Facebook account, by the way, during this test. So we're actually planning to retest this in like another 2-sell this time. But we actually found we did not see any incremental first-time orders. And granted, this was like just during the period that the test ran, which like is our least common consideration window from discovery to conversion. But we actually saw no incremental first-time orders from the business as usual spend compared to the 25% scaled up spend sell, which was also very, very insightful. So I'm expecting to see some better CPIA results with like the YouTube and TikTok budget tests. What was the other question? I forgot. Why we start there?
Like what led you to be that one? Which that was a perfect answer. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Connor, did you?
I was going to ask. No, I did have a question. Are you able to like bundle the same way on Amazon? Is there any like concerns about such a high percentage of the orders being captured via Amazon?
So no, that is a concern because we don't have like the highest bundle we offer on Amazon that like comparably to our .com is the 6-piece set. So like if you're a 12-piece set buyer, you really have no option but to buy it on our .com because like the pricing that you would get on Amazon if you like just added all those products together would be way worse than it would be on .com. So which is all kind of like by design, right? Like you almost want to have a reason for someone to buy on .com versus Amazon, but it's certainly, we're already looking at the business as like a complete online unit. So it's not necessarily changing anything with like how we forecast per se, but it certainly changes things with how we think about like just how much we're spending on .com funnels versus how much we're going to spend on Amazon funnels. It kind of has validated a lot of the hunches, the kind of gut instincts we have that we don't need to maybe be spending as much on Amazon as we do. So it more validated and will continue us down the path that I think we were already headed on than anything else.
Totally. I forgot my question. Never mind.
The only thing with that, and this is very unsolicited feedback, but I wonder if you're almost creating a decoy effect, meaning like decoy, like you have like the more expensive thing and then the cheaper one or the smaller one looks cheaper. I wonder if that 6-piece set on Amazon looks so much cheaper and easier compared to the 12 piece. And I wonder if you're almost like de-incentivizing online because of that.
Right. So you're saying we might even, by offering the same product offering, like 12 piece set specifically, we might even see that come back to .com because people are just like, yeah, I see what you're saying. That'd be an interesting test to add the 12 piece to Amazon. And I also need to check in with our Amazon manager because I feel like there's some like weird nuances with Amazon about what we can and can't have there with like pricing. And then like we have this Costco relationship that has all sorts of pricing nuances related to it. So I would need to get like reacclimated with all the nuance there. But that's a good thought. So you're basically thinking, based on that note, you're saying if we were to add the 12 piece set to Amazon at the same price, you would think that we would see that ratio of like .com to Amazon incremental orders drop, right? Where we'd see less incremental on Amazon.
Maybe, yeah. I guess theoretically, because like the 6 piece then looks so much cheaper. So they're like, hey, I'm just going to go get it on Amazon. It's like almost you're making it too easy.
Or if the 6 piece was more prominent on .com, you might see less people spill over to Amazon.
Right.
It's super interesting.
Yeah.
I was going to say we like typically price match, and we feel, I don't know how long HexCloud has been on Amazon. We launched Amazon in 2018, which at the time was kind of it was not a best practice in D2C, which was like a crazy trend. People were like, you have to own the customer relationship. Amazon's bad. It turns out, like, at least from our experience, it is very incremental. There's some level of cannibalization. You start seeing people choose to shop on Amazon versus .com, but you're ultimately acquiring new customers. But we also always price match. That's like, that's as low as we will go. We'll never give any like exclusive offers or make Amazon look better than .com because we were about that cannibalization. So I do think you see a bunch of people, I mean, clearly from your tests, like shopping both platforms. And yeah, it's interesting. You guys have a lot to experiment with from here, I think, just in terms of pricing and positioning.
Yeah, and like the price is I mean, it's, you know, we sell it for $3.99 on .com. It's $4.04 on Amazon. I don't know exactly why we have it $5 higher. I think that goes back to what I just mentioned. I think there's some nuance there with like the pricing and Costco and all that. But that, I mean, they're $5 higher on Amazon actually, which is interesting.
Right. All right. So do we want to do all share tests, or do we feel like one is like that's enough for the week and we don't all have to do because that could be a full episode?
One's great, and that was an awesome first test of the week, I would say.
Yeah, I like that.
The premiere test.
Yeah, that was great. I see Cody just like, God, he's like, I got some tests though that are just going to be rippers that I can go off of.
No, we actually, the last episode, the two we're running right now, but Pinterest, we talked about last week, last episode. So hopefully I'll have some updates soon. And then now let's save them. I don't want to give away all of our good stuff in one episode. You know, we got to keep them coming back.
Yeah, for sure. So tune in to episode 8 for segment number 2 of Test of the Week. With that being said, new product drops. Let's get into it. So I think before we get into the main agenda here, I'm curious, Connor, you guys just dropped a new product today? Yeah.
We dropped our MagSafe series today. So we've got assembled full bridge wallet for MagSafe products, which have these like magnet arrays embedded on the front plate. Comes with the strengthening tray, so it attaches right to an iPhone, but the tray also makes it universally applicable for Android or Windows devices. We're selling standalone plates, so people can upgrade their existing Ridge wallet with magnet plates. And we came out with iPhone 15 phone cases. So just a big push into mobile accessories as a whole, which has been a theme for us with our Marques Brownlee partnership and Best Buy just becoming more and more tech adjacent. So yes, product launches are top of mind for me. I'm only 12 hours since our last one.
And what do you think? Are you happy with how everything's going right now?
Yeah, I was super stoked for a number of reasons. One, we've spent a ton of time and energy from a brand and creative standpoint and a marketing operations perspective over the last year. And I felt, one, this launch looked great, and two, felt like, I would not go as far as saying effortless, but just in terms of the operations of the business, felt really great getting off the ground. So from a pure operational standpoint, I was very happy with this launch. From a commercial standpoint, it's off to a great start. Anything like wallet adjacent tends to do really well. We've got millions of customers. It's like our bread and butter, the cash cow of the business. So something as integral as like these MagSafe products, and it's a net new feature. So whether it's our existing customers or prospects, I think there's a type of person who would like to better stick their wallet, the way that they're carrying their cards in cash to their phone. Now that we have the ability to do that, it was kind of a layup, I would call it. I was comparing it to, we launched AirTag cash straps and money clips a couple years ago, just after the AirTags were released. And those were like just an obvious win. All of a sudden, we got 20% of people to add these new accessories. And I think we'll start to see a similar sort of ratio with people opting into the MagSafe wallets. So yeah, day one, feeling pretty good.
That's awesome. Well, I'm adding
Cody, fellow marketing operator, also had a big launch today, from what I'm told.
Yeah, we did launch today. I'm not trying to one up or anything. You know, we can compare some numbers if we need to. We had a kit launch. We're trying to have our goal would be to have a kit on our site at all times, whether that's an evergreen kit or whether that is something that is kind of comes and goes. We launched one in February. Unfortunately or fortunately, we sold out super quickly. You know, we've got to order these things 6 months ahead of time, and what we thought would last, you know, at the time, we grew so much since then, and so we ran through them pretty quickly. So we were a little bit more conservative with spend today. I think overall pretty happy with it, especially being, you know, pretty light on spend. Huge traffic day, which was interesting. Usually we have a super high conversion rate on a launch. Actually pretty low, but huge traffic. We did a lot more brand stuff. We kind of did like our first big brand campaign around this. Got some out of home. We've got these agile trucks driving around the city, 5 trucks for 12 weeks. So that'll be cool if it does anything. And yeah, for us, you know, the kit strategy. So it raises AOV. Obviously, if you do the math on it, usually we can afford a little bit higher cost per acquisition, which is always good for scaling. You know, what we find for us, the biggest objection of buying online is always, how do I pick my shade? So we put one of our mini Miracle Bombs, our bestseller, in it. So there's always, you know, a big appeal to that. It's hard to get the minis outside of that. And then what we've found, we've had a few, you know, retention consultants do some analysis for us, is when we get a higher AOV on first order, that leads to higher LTV usually. So that's always a good strategy. But then also when you encourage cross-category shopping, so when somebody buys 3 or more products, or they are buying from 2 or more categories on the first purchase, they're more likely to repeat. So it's actually a very good LTV strategy as well. You know, you buy 4 products, we usually do 4 or 5 products in these kits. And there's only one SKU, so you don't have to make a decision. So there's just a lot of benefits. But say you don't like the Miracle Balm, maybe you like the mascara, maybe you like the eye cream or something else. Versus if you're just buying a Miracle Balm, you've got a 1-in-1 shot of liking that. So I think there's tons of benefits. We've now just got to be able to, you know, keep them in stock and figure out the best way to do it. But overall, pretty happy with it.
So what would you say of me, unfamiliar with makeup and cosmetics? Like, is the Miracle Balm Mini kind of like the killer feature of the kit, since that's not always available?
Yeah, that's the main one. So that's our best-selling product. And our biggest comment that we're ever going to get on ads always is, I wish they sold minis. Just like every single comment feels like, I wish they sold minis. We do them usually twice a year, so Black Friday and Memorial Day, because we don't like to do discounts, but we will toss them in kits as we go. So that's really like one of our big strategies for this year. Yeah, that's the big thing.
And then are these?
And then also we do discount. Like these are probably, you know, these are probably 10 to 15% discount off of our, you know, if you're buying stuff individually, and that's really the only discounting we do. So that's in there as well.
And then are these so the IME kit, are any of these net new products, or is it more so just the bundle and the pricing that someone gets in this by putting existing products together in this bundle is what's net new? Like what's that look like?
Yeah, good question. Very good question. Right in this one, nothing net new. It's just a bundle. It's the only way to get a mini right now. But we will, all of our holiday kits, so same thing, like we'll do like 2 different kits for holiday. We'll do one in September or October. We'll usually have like a net new thing. Usually it's sometimes a new product, and if we're launching a new product, we'll do that. Like we have some new products for some kits later on, but also a new shade. So if we're coming out with a new shade of Miracle Balm, we'll do that. We'll launch a new shade in there. We'll see what the market, you know, thinks, and then we'll decide if we want to bring it out full time later on. So just trying to get something a little bit special in them.
You know, I love the bag.
Yeah.
That's another, I mean, it makes a big difference. You'd be surprised, but like some people collect them.
Dude, the bags are awesome. We We sell wedding band ring sets, so a tungsten band and a silicone band, and it comes in this like little box that we call the travel case, and people love it. Like the packet, like that sort of like durable, reusable packaging is such a value.
Yeah, people love that. That's awesome. I actually just looked on the website. We're sold out of one of the shades that we have, one of the SKUs of the kit already, so that's a good sign. But yeah, no, I'm pumped for this episode. Very excited to hear kind of how you guys approach product launches. And so yeah, super excited to learn from you guys as well.
Yeah, let's dig into it. Also, Connor, I think it's interesting. Like you have this intuitive sense now of which products are gonna like really pop off for you guys and which ones like might be a little bit slower, but are a longer term investment. I feel the same way actually with like whenever we launch like a specialty cookware product, I know it's going to pop off, like double burner griddle, pizza steel, just because cookware crushes for us. And like, that's our bread and butter there. Whereas like aprons is something we actually just launched last week. And I'd say I'm like 5 out of 10 satisfied with the launch, but I also went into it with a totally different attitude than I had for like launching our pizza steel or our double burner griddle or like another niche cookware product, like our different sizes of the deep saute pans that I know people love. So I think we'll get into that a little bit of like the approach that we have with some of these different product drops. But with that being said, I think before we get into like, I want to get into tactics and like different phases of a product drop in the channels that we use to like facilitate those phases. But before we do that, I want to start off with like the philosophical why behind launching new products, which like maybe is obvious to some, but I think there's like a deeper like philosophical reason you do these things. And then B, like what goes into informing new products. But Connor, do you maybe want to start off with like touching on that philosophical why? Like what are you at its essence trying to get at when you launch new products, whether that is like the MagSafe, which is an accessory to your existing product, which I think is getting at one thing. And then I think that your like launch of new categories is getting at something totally different. Like, would you mind kind of going into that philosophy of what we're getting at here with these new products? We are super excited to talk today about one of our sponsors, Aftersell. All three of us, Jones Road Beauty, Hexclad, and Ridge Wallet, are customers of Aftersell. If you're selling on Shopify, you need to find ways to boost your average order value. One of the best ways to do this is cross-selling and upselling, and there are a lot of different ways and places you can do this. One of the best places to do it is right when that conversion is happening, and that is exactly what Aftersell facilitates for you. So what actually is Aftersell? Aftersell is a widget that you install on your website, and on the post-purchase page, right after someone's completed their conversion, they're basically getting this upsell and or cross-sell. It's super seamless. It's one click, and it adds it to the order. They do not have to go through checkout again. It's really just free, not free, but it's incremental revenue that you're getting from someone that's already bought from you. One thing I love about Aftersell is you can decide to optimize it a ton or not at all. Either way, it's going to drive you a ton of incremental revenue. And if you have the team and the bandwidth and you want to optimize it, you can do all sorts of analysis on, which products are most likely to be bought with other products, doing those sequential order and market basket analyses. And you can literally build out different funnels, as many as you'd want for different products, depending on what that first ordered product was, and then upsell them super intentionally based on that first order product. So, love Aftersell. It's driven 6 figures of incremental revenue for us in a very short period of time. And I highly recommend it. If you want to check them out, head over to aftersell.com.
Yeah. And I'll touch on a couple of points here. Cause one, you mentioned having a sense for what will perform better or worse. And I think like in the easiest explanation for that is as we get closer to our core competency, there's going to be a natural, stronger like adoption of the new product. So I'll kind of work my way out from there when we think about product development. One is we want to release new products and it's not going to sound particularly philosophical. These are actually relatively like on paper goals that we've got, but we have products that we want to increase AOV with. MagSafe is that. The AirTag money clip is that we launched a cavity tray in 2020 that like changed the business. All of a sudden we had this really great, it was our first like really strong accessory that we could get adopted along with the wallet. It just gives you so much ability to drive upsells, drive discounts. So you get value messaging, you add more functionality. It's just kind of a no-brainer. Those are products that are initially purchased like right alongside the wallet for us, or for you guys, that might be some sort of additional pants or something. We have products that we can generate LTV with then. And these are like typically higher priced items that might not get included on the first order, but share enough of the commonalities of that initial product to be a natural kind of second purchase. For us, that might look like pens or key cases or something of that nature. I think phone cases are kind of in that bucket. We have then it gets a little bit different. The second one, or the two other ones that I have, are brand building products. So for us, it might be like, I can't really talk about it, but we're working on a couple of products that like won't be huge commercial drivers, but like we want to build into a particular persona or demo that we think this would resonate with. It's not going to be a $50 million product, but we think it can provide credibility to the brand.
Are those usually like a partnership or license or something?
No, in the case that I'm thinking of, it is a product within the everyday carry category that just doesn't have a large addressable market, like won't get particularly high adoption, but we think is really cool. So it's like that is very clearly has a different objective than the other things that we're talking about. We don't have a long list of those. Those are more on the merch calendar for the next 18 months or so. And then the last one is like actually new beachheads to the brand. So this is for us where I would put wedding bands or our whole travel category, which is, sure, we will have wallet customers who eventually purchase wedding bands from us or travel. We launch these products. It does well to our existing customer. But by and large, we expect these categories to grow by going out and reaching a net new person who's not necessarily in market for wallets. That from a like leverage, I don't know if it's like quite from a leverage perspective, but those tend to have the highest ceilings for us. I've been saying I think travel can be our largest category. I think it could usurp the wallet business by 2026. So that's how you can really get iron in the fire that can pay off over the long run. So those are the roughly the four buckets that I'd put product development in.
Cody, anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I think ours will be a little bit different. For us, it's just, the foundation is really what does Bobby want to create and what does she, think is missing. And so I think it's less of a business strategy, but more of like, what does she really, feel like creating? And I think, for us, mostly it's a retention thing. I think our acquisition spend is pretty concentrated amongst a few. And, we're not going to come out with something just for the sake of coming out with it for acquisition. It would just have to be, something that, we and she really believes in. But so for us, we definitely want that. And I think we can hopefully get more, but that's where, those kits really come into play. So for us, it's really just, rounding out the line. And we tier them. So it's either an A, B, C launch, with some, pluses and minuses in there. And then that kind of just tells us like an A launch is like one of these kits or like a holiday kit where it's like all systems go, tons of creative, tons of spend, landing pages, everything like that. Might do some direct mail, might even like edit our TV ads. And then a C is like maybe it's a shade extension of even not that popular of a SKU of a product. And so, most beauty brands launch, like this is like a bigger retail beauty brand, probably 4 times a year if they're, if they're pretty busy. We probably launch something. And again, it's not always a new shade. It might be a kit like this, might be a shade extension. We've probably got 20 this year. So we're pretty busy with it and we've got a lot of them. But I would say, none of them, at least now, are huge. I think a lot of our hero SKUs we've probably already launched, and now we're kind of just like rounding out the line. We've got like a category or two, but yeah, nothing where I think we don't have anything where it's like travel coming out or like a completely new line, unfortunately, because I wish we did, but I think at least in beauty it's a little bit tougher, and you kind of like get known for one thing.
Yeah. So to summarize here, and like, there's kind of 2 core reasons, right? There's like, hey, you've already paid to acquire all these customers. Like, how can you roll out products that those same people want to buy over and over and over again? Like, you already got the CAC's already sunk on that. Like, how can we just extract value to those people with value-added products? Like, that's the MagSafe for Ridge. That's the new shades for you, Cody. That's like, splatter screens for us, accessory cookware. But then there's also unlocking totally new customer segments. Like that's, Cody's not doing as much of this, but like that's rings for Connor. That's luggage for Connor. We are starting to get into that space too, where a lot of the categories that we rolled out, we have like maxed out in our own media audiences, and now we're building acquisition funnels. Like that's the pepper grinders for us. We're like, I'm a believer that the person that will attract to come and buy this pepper grinder is a very different first time buyer than the person we'll attract to that'll buy that 12-piece set. Sean talks a lot about like finding your second hero product. Like we are probably like, where you were 3 years ago, Connor, in terms of like finding that second hero product with rings and luggage and these other categories. So I look at it from those two components, and I think most brands can be thinking about it in that way. Like you start to slow down in one category. Like what are the opportunities to, kind of re-spark and re-steepen that acquisition curve again? And like, category expansion is a great way to do that. Are there any other brands that you've seen? Like I think Ridge is such a good, like we look at Ridge as a major muse right now, because like I've said a few times now, we're building out these funnels to try to like see what our second hero product's going to be. Is there any other brands out there that you feel have done a really good job of creating secondary categories that they've built into like hero categories that have unlocked new acquisition markets?
I'll give I really like True Classic. They absolutely blitzed product expansion like a year and a half ago. They obviously like built the business, and obviously still seems to be their key hero product with the t-shirts, but they very quickly went into like button ups, like kind of athletic wear. They have pants now. I think they have suits. Like they're like across the board, and I really like the aggressiveness of that. Also for a kind of value-oriented, like well-fitting basics or fashion company. I don't know exactly how they'd categorize themselves. Makes total sense. Just go wide, dig in around what works, and then kind of grow from there. So massive respect for them, just from an operational perspective, especially dealing with sizes, has to be a huge undertaking, and they seem to have really been making the most of it.
Yeah. I think I think about Lululemon. Like they got going with the apparel, like high-end quality apparel made with really, really, good materials. But now like they're also seen as probably the premium brand as it pertains to like some actual equipment now too. Like I think of yoga mats initially. I know it's not just yoga mats, but like I go to a yoga studio and I look around and I bet half the people in there have Lululemon yoga mats. You go and you look at the market for yoga mats, Lululemon's charging the premium price in that category. Like great example where that one's probably a little bit of both. Like I think that's a natural, LTV builder on someone that's already bought a bunch of like athleisure gear for them. But I also think that's probably become a really nice top of funnel first order product for them too.
Yeah, absolutely. Similar note, what is the Nike Strength rollout, which is another one that I was like really impressed by. I'm not familiar with the internal workings of Nike, but they had like a separate D2C site built out. It seemed like they had a completely different kind of stack in how they were growing that business. Beautiful, creative, really unique product offerings, like just kind of striking, and also kind of a non-obvious fit from my perspective. Nike coming from shoes and clothing, getting into like weights.
Yeah.
I think it's like quite a big change, especially trying to do it D2C. Like D2C weights is I'm sure hard.
I don't know if you guys know Rogue Fitness.
Yeah,
they're like
I was about to
the
bring them
supplier
up
of
too.
a lot of like CrossFit gyms, stuff like that. They crush. I think they're completely D2C. I think they're bootstrapped, but I may be wrong. They crush. They're a huge business.
And I don't know about
But
like,
it can't be easy, that logistics of that.
oh, that's gotta be a nightmare. I ordered some kettlebells from Onnit, those monkey kettlebells they have, and the shipping was insane. But that's another good example. I don't know if I think Onnit started off with gear too, or not gear. I mean like
Supplements.
Did they start supplements and then go to like the gym equipment, or was it the other way around?
I think they started with supplements.
Yeah, I think you're right with like Alpha Brain, but now like they have I think a pretty robust like kettlebell business and like actual like gym equipment business as well. That's another good example of a natural category expansion.
Totally. And especially for them with like such a built-in audience with like Joe Rogan, it's just like kind of natural for them to expand categories. They're probably not even really, I'd be curious what they're doing from like a paid CAC perspective. They just have millions of people who are ready to buy kind of exercise adjacent gear, supplements, clothing.
What about digital products? That's an interesting one. Like I think a lot of these brands now, you look like an Aloe or Aloe. Well, Aloe and Aloe Moves are separate, but a lot of these brands like have these digital products. Now, it's actually something I've thought a lot about for Hexclad of like, is there a digital product business that we could build out where like we're basically creating these like cooking classes with our brand ambassadors, and it's a one-time fee. You get access to like call it 5 to 10 meals that the ambassador is going to walk you through. Like, I think that's a really interesting way to diversify as well.
I've had this thesis for a long time that like e-com brands would eventually move to, I'd call it agnostic monetization of their audience, that like eventually it will get harder and harder to acquire customers and profit online. And therefore we will push ourselves into like digital products, or I could see brands getting into affiliate. And that's kind of what something like a disco network is, where we can, I guess we're earning credits if we were to refer someone to hexclad.com. If you look at Rocket, you're actually earning dollars by referring someone to like American Express. And I could totally see like digital subscriptions and things kind of playing into that thesis. So we don't have any plans of it. I think it makes total sense for you guys doing some sort of cooking content sort of platform.
Well, we're testing consumables kind of through partner brands. Like if you go to our Pepper Grinder product page right now, like you'll notice we're upselling a very complimentary product for the Pepper Grinder that is not a Hexclad branded product, but we have certainly had conversations internal about if that's something we should do. But like, why go and invest all this time, money, and resources into doing that before we even know if that's something that people have an appetite for? So basically, we just rolled out this upsell like a week ago, and we're gonna essentially be measuring like of all orders of the 3 products that we're upselling this complimentary product on, like what percentage are taking the upsell. And like that's a really good starting off point to say, hey, like, do we actually want to go develop our own, product that's branded as Hexclad? Like we have some plans to do it with like our new pizza steel product. So I'm really excited about like getting some of those learnings. I think there's a lot of ways that we could go, and all of us are like kind of sitting and waiting to like get a data point that like really suggests that we go produce our own consumable or make a digital product or whatever it is. So there's so many different ways you can go, which is actually a really nice segue, because what I wanted to go into next is like before you even think about designing a new product, like what's the work and the diligence going into inform that decision? It's like, hey, at some point you and Sean sat down and said, we're going to go make rings. Let's go. But I'm sure there was some sort of research component that went into that beforehand. So Cody, maybe starting off with you, like what kind of goes into informing your new products? Like what kind of work is being done, whether that's surveying or like overall market research? Like I'm curious what that process looks like.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's one of those things where it's like, we always want to do it better. There's a combination of it's just going to be, Bobby, this is what she's known for. Like, this is what she's going to do. Maybe products that she's created at, her past company or something like that. And so they're, her and the product development team will just be working on things for years. Like we have an SPF that's coming out in a year, and there's like a huge, regulatory cycle behind that. But like, that's something that they've been working on for years, and they test it themselves. They give feedback to the lab, go back and forth. Our first store, actually, one of our stores is literally like a two blocks away from our office. So they'll just take it over there, show it to some of the makeup artists. They'll sometimes give it to them and give like some prototypes to the artists at the stores, and just have them use it on clients and just get some feedback. And so that's been a lot of it. And now we've got this Facebook group, so we definitely are mining that for insights, ideas. Like we're launching a product in September that is definitely, it was something that was kind of in the works or talked about, kind of got, put to the wayside. And then there's just a lot of feedback, people asking about it. So for us, a lot of times beauty companies will have a product marketing team. We don't. Our brand team does product marketing. So it's kind of combination of them and our product development team that go through that process with our, with Bobby and the makeup artistry team of, developing the products, bringing them to market, figuring out how we're going to position it, and then like getting feedback as well, and trying to make that like a full cycle. So we're not like going out into market and be like, hey, what should we launch? We're definitely doing that for kits. Like as we're trying to merchandise kits and see like what people would want to see, we're using our Facebook group for that. We're using surveying, and then a lot of the, the store data. Like we're trying to have everybody on our team once a quarter. Anyone on our marketing team, but really whole team, work in the store, because there's just so much great learning that you get from being able to actually interact with customers.
What does working in the store look like for them? Like, is there a specific role that everyone takes on for the day? Like, are they like the person on the floor?
We probably won't have me in the store doing makeup. Yeah, like we probably won't have me doing that. But I guess we could try. No, I mean, you probably just with the register and stuff like that, it might be shadowing. But I think definitely if it's busy, helping out just a customer if they have questions about Miracle Balm or foundation or mascara, like everyone is knowledgeable enough to be able to do that. But it's just so helpful to actually be able to get out from your screen and see that feedback.
I wanna ask you, Connor, too. But before that, I want to call something out that Cody mentioned. Like, Bobby's in the market for, like, she is the demographic, right, for the products you're selling. Like, I feel the same way. Like, our founder, Danny Weiner, like, he's not a chef, but he's a cook. Like, his family came up in cooking and food. Like, the initial reason we rolled out the HexCloud product was because, like, he had a gut instinct that this was missing in the market, and he was able to work with the folks that developed the product to be like, oh, like, this is heating up too slow. Oh, now it's heating up too fast. Oh, there's like a hot spot here. Like, when you have a founder or product team that's in the market, like, you can go off of a lot of gut instinct and like anecdotal experiences to inform your product development, which I think ultimately is probably valuable over some of the other methods that take more time, like product surveys and like interviewing customers is not a time efficient thing. Like, literally one-on-one meetings, which like we will do when we have done to inform some of the features on a big product drop that we have coming in 2025. But like, I think that's a really huge value add to like have a founder or product team that's in the market for the products that you guys sell.
So next, we're going to talk about two things: customer service and artificial intelligence. Our next sponsor, Richpanel, is a platform that combines the best of AI and humans to respond faster, manage all channels, and scale your customer service. They do this in a number of different ways, but their ultimate goal is for you to get every agent responding as if they're your best agent. First, my favorite part, which actually isn't AI related, is better self-serve tools so that your customers and prospects can find the information they need without ever submitting a ticket. But when they do submit a ticket, they have artificial intelligence that learn from your previous interactions. So it's not a ChatGPT wrapper that's just going to rattle off whatever it thinks is the best way to respond to a customer. It's actually going to understand what are historical interactions you've had to recommend and automate the responses to customers submitting new tickets, as well as new ways to augment your current agents so that they can respond more efficiently and empathetically. If you're interested in Richpanel and bringing AI to your customer service teams, visit richpanel.com.
Connor, what about you? What are you guys doing on that side of things to inform products?
Well, one distinction I want to make quickly is at least how we think about it internally. We have something like categories, which is, let's call it rings, travel, everyday carry. Within that, we have silhouettes. So it's like literally like the physical item. So we have like wallets and pens and knives are all silhouettes within everyday carry. And then within that, we have colorway, which it sounds like maybe Cody Jones Road has like a similar thing when you guys are launching new what is it? Blushes, colors? What's that?
Yes, shades.
Shades. There we go. Yeah. When you're launching new shades, that's the same as us launching like high dive blue in the classic Ridge Wallet silhouette. So when we launch silhouettes, I think there's like a natural kind of, I almost feel like the market's like a bit of a forcing function. All the ones that I've mentioned earlier, coin trays, the MagSafe attachments, the key case, all of those were like, we could feel demand for. We knew that our customers would want this, whether it's in like via email or customer service or comments on Facebook ads. We had surveys go out, people telling us like, hey, we want a key solution. That was a very natural fit. Colorways are similar where it's like, okay, yeah, we know people want a red wallet. We know people really want a purple wallet. Like, we have tangible data around that, because I think connecting the dots between silhouettes within a category is like relatively clear, and they're kind of trends you can identify. In terms of new categories, those are way bigger swings. So for both rings and travel, it's really like our founder, Daniel or Sean, saying, hey, I think there's like an opportunity here. In the case of travel, it was like, hey, we think there's room in the market for a more like masculine $300 carry-on. If you look at a July or a Manos or an Away, they're like gender neutral at best, but like kind of lean more female oriented, fashion oriented. It's like, what if Yeti was going to make travel, and can we sit kind of Yeti actually did make travel. I don't think they did it well, but can we sit in that D2C market and grow the category from that perspective? Those are all kind of gut feels. What we started doing last year was we started partnering with people on the supply chain level to kind of speed up like getting to a product we could launch. And we ended up testing apparel, razors, and water bottles. So those were all like, we called it skunk works. We didn't want to spend too much time, but how do we get these things to market so we get a temperature check on whether they could become meaningful categories for us? So that's how we've approached it. That's as scientific as it's gotten, is the partnering to get signal around what would that initial purchase look like.
Wait, so are you actually trying to sell those products, Connor?
To better inform.
Like, did you actually sell water bottles? I forgot the other, but like you're actually building funnels and seeing if you can like profitably acquire customers before you, like, what does that look like?
Those were all, I mean, like we didn't build out paid funnels meaningfully. Really, it was temperature checking on what do our current customers want from us.
Oh, okay.
Like what resonates the best with for each of these new categories. So that was really the focus, and then we could take those data points and use it to better inform future merchandising decisions or category expansion.
Yep. Do you guys use any tools like spy tools? Like, are you familiar with Particle as a tool?
We use Particle.
You use Particle? Okay. Yeah, we use Particle too. I think that's really interesting.
Particle makes a ton of sense. I don't know. We don't use it all that often. It's really like every, couple weeks, we'll be like, oh, we've got like this question. What's the most popular colorway for this brand's backpack or something? And we could dive in there. You get some sense of like growth for these different brands. I don't feel like we leverage as much as we can. What about you guys?
I don't either. I think it's a very case by case basis. Like we had a competitor, or what historically I didn't really look at as like a direct competitor, launch a product that was closer to ours. So I was using it to like get a pulse check on like what the volume and revenue that they were doing on that was. We also will use it to set goals. Like we launched our pepper grinder. Oh God, in 2022, and like we thought we were failing with just based on volume of sales. And then we like added one of the main players in the space into Particle, and we're like, wait, actually we're doing more units than they are doing already. And we're like, hold on, like it's like we just had no context point. Like we need to like level set with ourselves to actually like understand what's realistic. So we'll use it for stuff like that. I agree. We don't use it. Like we haven't built it into like our ongoing weekly, bi-weekly, whatever workflows. It's like, oh, we have a question about a competitor and I wonder if I can glean this from Particle. But I think it's a very cool tool.
Incredibly cool.
I did question. I was like looking at a competitor's revenue per particle, and the other day, and I was texting a friend of mine who works for a competitive brand that you both know. I'm like, hey, like he's like, hey, can you see us in there? I was like, yeah. He's like, show me what it's showing you. So I sent him a screenshot. He's like, this is like fairly far off, even though Particle was saying it was like a 9.3 confidence interval. So I don't know. I don't know how much I trust it based on that interaction, but they're also like a headless Shopify site. And I know that has that throws in like a wrench for the Particle tech that's like scraping the order volume or whatever.
Yeah, totally. One of those things like you could maybe take directionally at best. Definitely not anything to bet the farm on.
Another thing I like to do, I'll go look at the ad libraries of these folks, because like we'll ask surveys to understand people's habits. And like it doesn't necessarily I wouldn't say like we've necessarily changed trajectory of like products we were already going to develop, but we've certainly it's certainly reacclimated like which products we're going to prioritize. Like we found out that our customers are grilling way more than like an insane amount like compared to like the average person. So like we've prioritized some of our grilling products because of that, because we think they're going to be received a lot better. But then also I love going into the ad libraries of competitors and just trying to get a sense of like how much they're spending behind acquisition on a lot of these products. Like, oh wow, they're putting a lot of spend behind bakeware. Like I see a ton of ads here. Like they must be spending a lot on it. It must be working for them. I think that's an interesting kind of like way to go pulse check how successful acquisition on some of these categories have been for competitors in the space. Do you guys do much of that or not really?
Not too much. Yeah, not too much. I will say I love you guys getting into grilling. I've said for a long time I'd love to have a HexClad closer to the grill. I'd be a big fan. I'm a first in line to be a customer.
Nice. Well, we got the barbecue pan. It's been really successful for us. It's pretty cool. It's like the same technology. It has like, the little tiny holes in it so you can get that like smoke, but it's not small enough where like your like veggies and smaller produce will fall through. So if you want like your broccoli on the grill or your asparagus on the grill or your carrots on the grill, like it's fun for that. And people love it. It's way more popular than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that I'll have to check it out. You've mentioned a couple times the pizza pan that's new.
Yeah.
So what's the like? Give us the TLDR. I'd love to hear how that's going. Maybe we could get into like some of the strategies that went into launching it.
Yeah. So the pizza steel was kind of the pleasant surprise of our last 6 months as it pertains to new product drops. Like way more popular than we thought it was going to be. We're definitely riding this up and to the right that's happening right now with like cooking pizza at home, right? Like you see the unis and like the crew ovens out there, like those are super popular. But yeah, we have this new pizza steel product. It's just, like a flat surfaced, pizza steel. The big value prop is that you do not have to preheat it. Whereas a lot of these other pizza steels, you have to preheat and it takes forever. It's like you can get your oven going, put the pizza on it and throw it right in the oven. It's non-stick, which is a big value prop. A lot of these the doughs will stick to these competitor products. So those are the two core value props of it. But yeah, like it's been super, super popular with all of our repeat customers, and honestly had a lot more organic first time orders than we thought it was going to have, which was one of the reasons that we built and launched acquisition funnels around it. We weren't originally planning to do that, but we would just like, we try to merchandise these products on site very prominently, like, the same way that you're doing right now with the MagSafe. Like if you go look at our site, we have aprons super prominent right now. But yeah, from that, it just got a ton of organic traction. So we decided to build out acquisition funnels. But yeah, I mean, shifting into tactics here, like I kind of look at the 3 stages of a product launch as like teasing, launch, and sustain. So like for teasing, we're building out these like product teaser landing pages, and we're usually sending out, 2 to 3 campaigns. Ideally, we haven't gotten more than like a month and a half out. I want to get that to like 2, 3, 4 months out so we can really start to build intent towards these products. But, we're starting off with like sending out a bunch of emails, a bunch of texts, teasing these products that ultimately redirect to a landing page. We did test that last year to see like, do we get better revenue per recipient from folks that visit these landers compared to ones that don't? And we no surprise, we absolutely did by a huge margin. So we have our tease sequence to the landing pages.
And
yep.
So on the tease, like how much information is actually available? Is it like just something's coming? Like what is that?
Yeah.
What level of ambiguity are you guys teasing?
Yeah.
With?
So within the tease, like it starts off super lots of ambiguity, and then we get more and more information heavy. So like campaign 1 is like something new is coming, like maybe just like a shadow outline of what the product is, like very, very ambiguous. We're not really telling people. Campaign 2, like we might put some more like context in there, like of what you would use it for, or like the seasonality of it. And then campaign 3 is like full on reveal, like, hey, we're launching the pizza steel. Check it out at this landing page. Has all the value props, all the use cases, some really nice imagery. So by the time we launch it, like these people that have already bought from us before are super primed and like, eagerly awaiting. When it comes time to launch, we'll usually do like a Cooking with Hexclad Facebook group early access to make them feel special. Also trying to move that out as much as possible from the actual launch, because I want to have those reviews like sitting there on the product page from our best customers when we do the public launch. Then we have a public launch, which is like, the huge email push. We might have 2-3 weeks of like over indexing on these products. And then we have our sustain strategy, which is like, continuing to pepper in like a few campaigns in the following months, but then we'll create these like email banners. So like we might have a campaign that's a recipe or not about the product at all, but like at the bottom, it's like, hey, new product alert, pizza steel. And then we'll build it out ultimately into our post-purchase flow. So we have this like general cross-sell flow. We'll edit that and make sure all new product categories get in there. And then eventually we'll even work towards getting like a product specific post-purchase flow built out. That's like you get in that flow by having bought from us before and by having visited like a specific URL on our site that indicates intent. That's the overall like own media strategy. The acquisition is a whole different like set of tactics, from like creative production to landing page production, to like deciding how we want to analyze and like what the unit economics and CACs need to be on those new products. I'll save that because that's a whole different slate of tactics. But I'm curious, how do you guys think about your new product drop tactics, and like what channels are you activating in each of the different phases? Connor, you wanna kick it off?
Yeah, well, actually, I want to start with a question for you because we launch just cold. We do very little teasing. So in this big drum up period that you're talking about, you're sending emails, you're sending SMSs. Is the goal literally just kind of build anticipation and educate, or are you building like a separate list of people specifically interested in this product? Like what is your ultimate objective when you're rolling this out?
Yeah, the ultimate objective is to, like, on launch day, convert as many of our previous buyers as possible towards this product. And that's why we tested it last year, because I was unsure. I was like, is it even worth all this effort? Because it's a lot of work to like produce landing pages and write and design emails. And that's why we tested it with the barbecue pan. Like, I wanted to understand, like, compared to our average engaged list, like how much more revenue per user are we getting by driving people to this landing page? And it was significant. I don't remember the data off the top of my head, but like it was way more revenue per user compared to the other segments that we were sending these to. So yeah, the overall goal is just to like ensure that we are absolutely maximizing the number of conversions that we get from our existing buyers in that first, 2 to 4 week like launch period of the new product.
Yeah, it's very cool. I think it's something we can get better at. Cold is probably not quite the right word. Like, we'll send emails to get people opted into SMS. That's one of our best ways to get email subscribers on our SMS list, is teasing with like, hey, you're getting early access to this next product. And we'll do what you described. It'll be like outlined or kind of blurred or something like that. So we'll build anticipation that something is coming, but haven't gotten to the point of like explicit education or even like qualifying, which I think could be really valuable. So I think that's cool. For us, like I said, we do a little bit of drum up. We're launching. And typically we focus on this, like, we have this launch period, which I like to think about when applicable as like multiple beats. So like in terms of, I'll give you an example. Hyperlime was a colorway launch last year, and it was kind of a hairy launch. We had a wallet, pen, key case. This is when we launched the razors, the water bottle, and there was a beanie involved. So it was like this big, hairy launch, lots of different things. And what we needed was to launch all those products at once and then have a coordinated marketing effort where across email, SMS, organic, some paid kind of support, we're breaking out 3 or 4 or 5 beats within that, where we will talk about the water bottle individually, the razor individually, different collections of these items together. So we've kind of expanded our like day one launch. This is what we would have done 2 or 3 years ago. Day one launch, boom, it's launched. Like, that's kind of done. Like, now we're maybe running paid ads for it. We're really trying to make it a moment over time. And you kind of touched on that with over indexing on the newness. And then from a sustaining period, yeah, I think it comes down to us defining whether we think it has the addressable market and the economics to become a paid acquisition funnel. And then how do we better integrate it through like the e-com experience or email, SMS, retention as a whole, so that we can continue to bring awareness to this new category or silhouette or whatever else over a longer period of time. So thinking about it very similarly.
Yeah. Interesting. I think you hit on something that I think is really important, is like, how do you keep your messaging fresh over the course of this product launch? So like for us with the pizza steal, for example, it's like, all right, campaign 1's like, here's the new products, here's the unique value props of it. All right, campaign 2, here's how it compares to competitors. Campaign 3, here are the different use cases for it. Like, it's not just pizza. You can use it for all sorts of things. You can sometimes use it for some of the things you would maybe use like a griddle for. Campaign 4, here's a bunch of recipes. Like, what are the different messaging angles you can take to like really give that product drop a ton of life? I think that's super important to think through in terms of your just like messaging angles. And are you saying like you don't think you did that well enough for the Hyperlime, but you've like gotten better at it? Is that what you were saying?
No, Hyperlime is actually a pretty good example of how kind of expansive that initial period can be, where rather than launch being this like singular event, it was spread out over 10 days where we had to plug all these individual products. We end up being very like product focused. The other example is like when we launched travel, we launched carry-ons, commuter bags, travel kits, and then we give each of those their own individual moments after that. The commuter backpacks in particular have a completely different set of value props when they're outside the context of a carry-on or, you flying, right? It's like a great day-to-day backpack. So we can hit on a completely different type of messaging when highlighting those individually. Or in the case of our launch day with MagSafe, we're really focusing on the wallet products today. The iPhones are included. And then the iPhone phone cases, which are great products with or without the MagSafe, are going to get their own individual moment next week. So just trying to like break out and like fully realize the potential and value of all the different components of a given launch.
Totally.
All of us are Haus customers and very big fans. In fact, I've actually been told I talk about Haus more than my own daughter. So what is Haus? Haus is a marketing science and experimentation platform that enables you to measure true incrementality and allocate budget efficiently to maximize growth and profitability. Haus allows you to comprehensively measure your marketing across all channels to measure the true incremental impact of all of your channels on retail, Amazon, DTC, etc. Haus allows you to design and launch experiments in minutes and get results in as little as 2 weeks. So we are all actual customers of Haus. We all use it. I actually got both Connors onto it. I was just such a big fan, and I just couldn't help but share some of the tests that we were running. And I thought it was super cool. And I knew we had a group chat going, and I knew that both of these guys were spending on a lot of different, channels and platforms. And we were all looking at things similarly, but really looking to kind of take a step up. So yeah, if it's good enough for me to sell these guys on it, I think it's good enough for you guys to try out.
As you can tell, we could do a whole episode about Haus, and we probably will at some point, but this is just the ad read. So if you want to add marketing rigor to your organization and make the most impact with your spend, go to haus.io/operators. That's HAUS.io/operators to learn more.
Cody, what about acquisition tactics? Like what goes into getting a new product ready for acquisition? And then also, like, what are the considerations from like a unit economic standpoint when you're building out acquisition? Because like we're never going to build splatter screen out into an acquisition funnel, right? Like that's a classic complement to our cookware. The price point is not high enough. Like I doubt we could ever get a CAC that would be profitable in the splatter screen. So like what makes you think from a unit economic standpoint, yes, this could be a successful acquisition product? And then what are the like tactics or the assets that you need to build out to successfully launch that?
Yeah, very good question. So like I said before, like a lot of our like net new products are probably not going to be. Sometimes we don't know, and I have been wrong about it in the past. I think for a while, if it was like a tier B, which means like, hey, we think this will be a decent seller, like middle of the road, we would test it. I like to do like minimum viable product, like let's do a little bit. But I do think there have been times where we have put a lot of effort and focus into something, which means new landing pages, new ads, video shoots, statics, all that, influencers, all that kind of stuff. And then we found that it's just not going to work. It's just we're never going to have the same efficiency. It's just not going to be our best dollars going to that product. And so I really want to avoid that for the future. So we kind of just go minimum viable product. Let's get a few creatives. Sometimes we'll just drive to PDP. Sometimes we'll drive to Lander. I mean, we can spin up a new Lander in Replo pretty easily. It's just swapping some, copy and images out and things like that. But yeah, occasionally we'll go to PDP with just some statics, maybe one or two videos. And if that performs, then great. Like we had a launch last year. We had two that I in Q4, I did not think that were going to do that great. And they did with minimal effort. And, and now we're able to kind of scale them. They're still like a tier B SKU. So kind of probably something maybe that would be equivalent to like a, pepper grinder or something like that for you. Like they're never going to scale the same as a 12-piece set. But it's nice to just have in there, running your ad account, maybe getting 5-10% of spend, every month, which is awesome. So I think for us, everything just comes down to what the tier of the launch is. And is it an A, B, or C, A+, A-, B+? For us in A launch, so you got, Black Friday, Memorial Day weekend, you've got holiday kits. We've got, just a bunch of collections for holiday kits. We do like an anniversary kit. And then we're doing, some of these other kits and then if you have like a shade extension of an A launch, we'll call that like a B+ or something. So it really just depends there and kind of what, how much effort we want to focus on it. So A let's say like I've got one of our handbooks open. So for each product launch, we have a brief that our senior director of brand does. That's just like, here's what it is. Here's everything you need to know about it. Here's all the details as well. We have a marketing ops team that does like all of our project management. That goes out to everybody, and then everybody works on their slides. Like growth will put in their slides, influencer will put in their things, retention as well, and then myself and director of brand will review that. So everything, it kind of just depends on the tier of the launch and how big we think it is. But I'm looking at Memorial Day 1 right now. Like we're going to do like 8 days of kits and minis. We've got 700,000 units we're trying to move and get through, and so that's an A plus. So that means that's a lot of creative. Fortunately, because we've launched it before, we look at what we did last year, what we did for Black Friday. What are our top winners? We're using motion for that. What are our top winners? What's performing well? What hasn't? You maybe take 20% of what we're doing and try something like completely new. We're doing landers, so we're actually creating 3 landers. Our main one is going to have like, I don't know what to call it. that like triple offer thing where you've got like 1, 2, and 3 side by side. That like supplement companies do. I love those. So we've got 3 of these different kits. We've got one with 4. 8 and then 13 plus a little gift
and
with
the
purchase.
price and like
so
the
I love those, but if we sell out of one of them,
tiers up as the volume and overall retail price tiers up.
Yeah, I love those. It's like classic, direct response. But I'm pumped that we have these. So we've got that, but we've also got landers for individuals because if we sell out of one of them earlier, we want to be able to flex spend to go to that. But yeah, we'll usually just whip up a landing page. We use Replo for it. It's honestly really easy. We just need some creatives. We just need some copy, but it doesn't take that much time. Like it's not like we're like completely designing a net new page for those, which is great. And then, we'll do, for a lot of stuff when the offer is really good, I find statics do well, but we'll do a mix of video and statics. And like I said, it's some new, some not. And then, there's a bunch of social stuff that goes into it. We will usually tease for anything. We usually tease a day before. So we're a little different. For us, we can't tease a month before because sometimes we'll have 2. If we tease a month before, we'd have 2 product launches between then. And so it's tough. It's one of those things, I think, like you said, I think you probably have a pretty good handle on it. It's hard to know if teasing is worthwhile or not. Like what I would really want to do is be able to do some type of a holdout. Like you could do that on a retention segment pretty well. And so we will almost always tease on social. Usually it's the day before. I don't know if you guys see this. As soon as we start teasing, like revenue will tank for that day. So we try to tease like 4 p.m. the day prior. It's one of those things where it's like something is coming and there's a video and it's kind of hard to see, but maybe we'll swatch something. And there's really good engagement because people guess. Email, we will occasionally tease as well. Connor will do it, we'll segment it. So we're not going to say sign up for SMS if they already have, but we'll segment it and get people to our SMS list. On a big thing, we will actually create like a little lander, like a little opt-in page. For Memorial Day weekend, we actually ran Facebook traffic to that. We optimized for leads. We got, don't quote me on it, it was probably 99-cent leads or something like that. It's one of those things where it's very hard to measure that to know if it's actually worthwhile. But I believe it was and is, and it's, I think, something we would actually invest in more in the future. And then, it's just looking, for us, a lot of our stuff, the COGS is very similar, but like, let's say the kit that we launched today, we're going to look at, what our gross margin of that, what our landed gross margin of that is. And that's going to tell us what we can, spend to break even. And something like this, like I said, we had to order when we were, not as large as we are now. We're going to sell out of these in probably 2 weeks. So we want to maximize the marginal value of those. So we will then set our budgets kind of according to that. So, we talked about a few episodes ago working with like demand planning teams and stuff like that. But that's crucial for a launch because, you've got to make sure the inventory that you've ordered, this has been one of my biggest learning lessons. It sounds so simple. You've got to make sure that the inventory that you've ordered, your marketing plans are taking that into account. And, demand planning teams should not be buying stuff without taking marketing into account because, I don't want to say we hold the keys, but we definitely are controlling, the levers of spend, which can make a huge difference. And then marketers also have to not just look at ROAS, but really understand what inventory levels, what the broader business goals are. So yeah. And then there's a lot on there. I know you asked about acquisition, but there's a lot, and there's probably more on the retention side that we do as well for launches.
So I have a very specific question. I'm curious about the flow of communication. You said the senior brand director writes like a brief on the product that goes all the way down to channel levels. Then they're creating their strategies, and then that's kind of becoming the full marketing campaign that you're then signing off on. Do I have that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we've got like a 3-person marketing ops team who does all the coordination. So they'll get like our are all of the pricing, all of the ingredients and stuff like that from product team. They'll get details from the ops team, some stuff from the finance team. So they just put it all together in this nice handbook, so everyone's got it. Because like we'll have so we'll have the brief. Everyone will put in their stuff. It's just be in like Google Doc, and I'll get tagged. In Asana, I'll have a certain date to look at things, and I may give some feedback. Hey Joanne, on the retention side, like let's send more emails. I don't think this is probably what we need to focus on for this one. Like what if we tried this? Or we haven't done a lot of like paid influencer like performance based stuff. So like I had some feedback to our influence person, like, let's try that, let's do that. So yeah, that's kind of where we'll discuss strategy. Sometimes we'll just like do ideas, and we're in person. So sometimes it will just, be like, hey, what do you think of this? And that just is like the starting point for these brainstorms. But we're doing as much as we can async. Same thing, like I'll chat with like our creative strategist or growth manager, and then we'll align on what landing pages we need, any tests that we want to run, if we want to run, an A/B on those, as well as that. And then once that's good, we'll just, we'll approve that. Our marketing ops team will then take that into a handbook. And that's actually where we have our fully fleshed out plans with like a calendar on it. So we can see and we can visualize, all right, 8:00 on Black Friday, here's what's going up. 10:00, here's what's happening. And that way it just helps everybody to know the exact time and things are happening, because without that in the past, like emails would go out like before the website was live or something like that. Right, you never know. So there's just so many moving parts. So our marketing ops team just does such a great job like organizing and coordinating all of it together.
Yeah, that's cool. I was curious about it. That's one thing I mentioned earlier. We've really had a focus on, I might have called it marketing operations, but just like the general workflows of how we're bringing things to market. And ours is like, I'd like what you just described, almost like bottoms up to some degree. Ours ends up feeling very linear. We get a product summary. Our VP of brand and myself will typically put together brand and marketing summaries. Sometimes there's like a really gray area between those. They're often very much the same, but I can help highlight like, here are some of the key value props that we think are going to resonate from an acquisition standpoint. This is why it's going to work in retention. Here are things we should look out for e-com. From a brand perspective, these are the demos or personas we want to highlight. Then that all becomes like content, and then that becomes actual channel strategy. So we're actually like, it just feels like a more of a linear progression, but it also—
How do you communicate that? Like, do you have a deck you do? How do you guys do that?
We have a big Notion calendar that's called our go-to-market board. So we have every launch that's planned. And then if you click into each of those, it's called a campaign spec. It is all the details that you need. So product summaries linked there, my summaries linked there. We have all of the individual tasks related to bringing that thing to market. So we also have tiers, 1, 2, 3, 4. Each of those tiers have a certain set of tasks that are like more or less codified by channel. Like we know for tier 1s, we need performance creative and landing pages. For tier 2, we don't need either of those things. So our marketing ops team is like baking those into these campaign spec sheets. And then we know for the rest of the year, like what are all the things that we're launching? What tiers are they? Do we have summaries done? Yes or no? And can we actually move on to the campaign steps associated with that? So that's how we've done it. And it's one of the reasons why MagSafe felt really good today. But at the same time, I think there's like, there's going to be a bottleneck, that like linear approach. At some point, we'll need to be able to delegate some of the marketing summaries. We're already doing that for some of the tier 3 or 4 launches, but it's why I was curious about the bottoms up approach, because that like seems like a perfectly adequate solution.
It's just either way, man, it's just such a process. And obviously you guys are a bigger team than we are. Like it's crazy how much that goes into it, and like how much you need somebody who's just owning the process of just coordinating it. Like they don't really have any input on the strategy or anything like that. They may provide feedback like, hey, I realized you did this date, or like that doesn't work logistically, but that you just need somebody that's project managing it. And do you guys have like a team that does that as well?
We have one person, and they're part of our overseas staff. They're in Ecuador. They're amazing. The team needs to be bigger. So we're going to hire a couple more people to kind of bolster that function of the business. But she only came on board a year and a half ago. Like before that, we were like running around with our heads cut off, basically trying to like do all this coordination without any sort of like, I was calling it a coordination layer. That's what we needed. And that's what we've been investing time and energy into.
Yeah, it's
You
so
need
helpful.
It's like, I think product drops are probably the most cross-functional, like as far as like getting everyone involved, from finance to ops to web team to create it, like everyone's involved with the product drop. And there's so many nuanced steps that if you're not tracking each one of them, like it's so easy to miss things like that. That's something we figured out the hard way too. And like same as you guys, we have a probably too detailed like project management board now built out in Monday. We need to get better about like staying on top of it and managing it. But like we built it out step by step for each part of the org, and it's very top down. It sounds like that's a commonality between all of our orgs, that we like track it all pretty closely and project manage it pretty closely.
Yeah, 100%. The one thing, we just started doing this recently, and a couple of these I'm like embarrassed by. I've been here like 7.5 years. I'm like, we're just figuring out how to like launch products decently. But we have a go-to-market meeting where it's like, this is everybody's posting all of their channel strategies to like a big Figma board, and we're taking 20-30 minutes to like walk through each channel strategy individually, making sure everything's lining up, so like kind of pulls through what the initial marketing summary and strategies intended it to be. And we just started including product managers on that, because it's like, yeah, we need more product people here to sign off on all these things being accurate and what was initially intended from the product perspective, because ultimately it's like merch to product to ops to marketing to actually like selling things to consumers, and like capturing the whole breadth of that, I think is tricky.
It's super hard. It's taken us tons of trial and error, and we're still not there. We still miss things, and like we'll be week of like, oh shit, like we forgot about this, and like we're like firefighting a little bit. Like it's such an iterative process to get to like a really Cody, I was super impressed when we met like a year and a half, 2 years ago at this point, and you were like, yeah, here's our Asana board for how we manage. Like you were actually like a muse for us building out our product drop board. When I saw how granularly you were like keeping track of all the different steps, like we do the same thing now because of that meeting, honestly.
One thing would be cool to do, like, because I think people probably assume that we have more figured out, like all of us, that we have more figured out than we do, is just like have an episode on stuff we think we suck at.
Yeah.
Like all of the things we're like embarrassed to admit that like we don't have at this level in our org.
Yeah, a couple episodes.
That's maybe. What are you talking about? Like,
yeah. Every episode for me is like, damn, I got a lot to learn from these guys, and I'm slacking my team. I'm like, we just did the episode. It will have been out by now with David Herman, and I was like, yeah. Right after he jumped off, I'm like, guys, we got to be doing more video in the custom ad placements. We got to be bidding on verified users on X only, like just a bunch of stuff. So yeah. We could fill up a couple episodes like that for sure.
Yeah, can I say one thing? One thing I really liked, actually, Connor, when you were on Operators, not that I want to give those guys a shout out, but I really like your launch and sustain strategy. I don't think we have a launch strategy. We don't really think about the sustaining as much. So it's so simple, but I really like just like the phrasing of that and how you focus on that. So I love 100%. That. Also, shout out Operators. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I think the sustain is like I think the sustain can be very easy. Like I think for the most part, you can kind of take your launch campaigns and like just slightly tweak them to make them work for like a life cycle post-purchase flow. And like that little like banner that we create, like that's not a huge lift to create this little element that you input into like 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 emails for the next 4 or 5 months. And like that's the sustain strategy. It shouldn't be a huge lift. It's just like tweaking existing assets that you've already built for the launch strategy.
It's a very good idea though.
Thank you. That's a wrap on episode 7. Thank you for tuning in to hear about all things about launching new products. Once again, thank you to Motion, Richpanel, Haus, and Aftersell. Hey, if you like this show, if you're getting value out of it, like it, subscribe, comment and tag your friends, share with your buddies. We want to get this show out there and get it in the hands of as many tactical growth marketers as possible. Thanks for tuning in.